Hey, it's John here at Primal Woods, and I just wanted to talk with you today about a couple of different things, but they're intertwined. Our environment, I'm not just speaking about our physical environment like you see behind me, but the socio-cultural environment that we live in as well. That and then noise, kind of related to the concept of environment. So my friend Justin Reich at J-Reich Training mentioned this in one of his videos a couple days ago. I've been thinking about it for a while. I started writing a blog post on it this morning, and I just want to give you a preview of what that is. So I established about 11 times in my adult life when my environment changed. It either changed because I went about it on a subconscious level. In some cases it was perhaps unconscious. Sometimes I either wouldn't or was not able to adapt quickly enough to a change in my environment. Or more recently, I'd say the last 10 years, I brought about those changes consciously. So I'd say the sooner you can get to that state, the better. Instead of being more or less a victim of your circumstance, it's up to you to create your circumstance. So I guess at the base of it, we're not unlike plants. We occupy a particular niche in the biological system as an apex predator, as it turns out. And we also occupy a particular niche or niches socio-culturally. So, like plants, if you've got crabgrass and dandelions coming up in your yard and you're fighting them with every tool at your disposal, why is that? Well, it's because the crabgrass and the dandelions are better adapted. They're more fit to that environment, to survive and thrive in that environment. And so, in effect, you're fighting the biology every step of the way. And part of Be Your Biology is just that. I'm asking you to be your biology as opposed to fighting your biology. So I don't want to, it's a broad landscape that I'm talking about, and I just want to take on, first of all, I'll split what I'm talking about into at least two aspects, which again aren't all of them, but we'll start there. There's an intellectual aspect to it, and there's a physical aspect to it in terms of your environment, clearly. Two examples I'll pick out of those 11 that I mentioned. One of them kind of goes to the socio-cultural aspect, intellectual aspect. The other one goes to the physical aspect. So the first one, in '78, I decided to enlist in the Navy. And this was probably one of those subconscious choices that I made. That on some level I recognized that I needed, what I've often said, was some discipline in my life. And I picked the Navy, probably because my dad had been in the Navy. So I went to boot camp, did all that. A little over a year later, I got an appointment to the Naval Academy. And that really would not have come about without my having enlisted in the Navy. So it's kind of funny, not funny, how things open up. But I got that appointment. And so that's one experience I want to talk about now. That was truly formative of who I am today. It was a real challenge, especially for people who were coming right out of high school and had not been to the boot camp or been in the Navy as an enlisted man. It was a total culture change, total. And part of that experience was that at the Naval Academy then, it's changed a little bit now, but then there were 36 companies of, let's just call it 100, 125 people, about 4,000 in the whole student body of midshipmen. And then inside each of those companies, you had platoons, and inside those platoons you had classes. And so In my class, we're dealing with about 30 guys in my class, my group, my age group, my peers. And you're going through a radical and stressful situation. It is a real crucible. And inside that 30 even, I had 3 roommates. And I can tell you right now that that's where some great and lasting friendships that I still benefit from were formed. I'm guessing you've had a similar experience. When you're in a very challenging situation and you're heavily reliant, interdependent on a small group of other individuals, relationships form, and these relationships last potentially the rest of your life. So, Naval Academy became a part of me then, and likely it will always be a part of me. Okay, the second one I wanted to talk about, so that one was really kind of on the socio-cultural side of the intellectual side of it. Certainly there were physical aspects, but that was not the bulk of it. The second one that I'll mention is my Hashimoto's diagnosis in 2014. So, at the time I was, I think 54. And I'd had a life of, I'll just say, passably good health, or what I'd grown to expect, whatever you want to call it. And all of a sudden, my kind of worldview of health is shattered. I have something that is serious and that could potentially lead to cancer, which basically multiplies your risk of cancer of the thyroid by 3x. And that represented a huge change in my environment from a physical point of view, and in particular from a nutrition point of view. Now it's interesting because, of course, I learned about the Hashimoto's from my primary care physician. I went through the conventional medicine route, but at the same time, Jerry and I instantly got into researching what Hashimoto's was about, what those causes might have been, and so on. And so the first question you can ask yourself is, why were we, unlike many others, not just willing, but actually moved to take a route that is not normal in our current state? Current state is trust your doctor. Current state is standard of care. We didn't go that route. We came to, pretty quickly, within 4 days actually of research, we came to something called the Paleo Autoimmune Protocol, went on that, the rest is history. Put Hashimoto's into remission. I'd say it doesn't exist. And then that has kind of given rise, or put us on a new path, which led to where you're at now, or where we're at now, including standing up Be Your Biology just a few months ago, to kind of try to share, what I've learned and what we've learned with you. So those are 2 examples. Now what pulls those 2 things together, those 2 examples? And I didn't really see it until I wrote down what those examples were and some details. And in both respects, there was a almost total elimination of noise. At that time, when I went to the Naval Academy, there were no cell phones, there were no computers, there was no internet, there was no social media, no TV, there was nothing. If you wanted to communicate with somebody outside the wall, you wrote them a letter. Anybody from your previous life, if you will. None of these other means of communication were possible. Occasionally you could make a phone call from the old-fashioned, like a phone, dial. Or maybe it was push buttons back in the day, I'm not sure which. But all the noise had disappeared. Both, with respect to those virtual streams of media that we're now so drowning in, but also from interpersonal sense. Every day I had in my face, like close to me, in a good way, like 3 people. That was it. So I think the elimination of all those distractions, all that noise, was crucial to the Naval Academy experience and what that's brought to me. On the physical side with Hashimoto's, the paleo autoimmune protocol is what's otherwise referred to as an elimination diet. Anything that's known or thought to cause autoimmunity in humans is on a list. And it starts with grains and legumes, goes on to nightshades and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, nuts, seeds, eggs, and dairy. I think I've covered them all right there. But those things, for some people, not all, for some people, some of those things are basically toxic to the body. Such was the case with me. Now, I've still probably, things have remained eliminated that may or may not have been causing my Hashimoto's. Frankly, I don't know. I don't care to know. I'm perfectly happy without those things in my life. The point is that that dietary regimen eliminated a huge amount of noise nutritionally from my body. Now, there's other forms of noise. Pumping your body full of sugar every 2-3 hours because you're in a sugar or a glucose low as a rebound from the previous sugar high you were on, that's noise. Caffeine in the morning, noise. I partake. I've tried to limit myself, but I still love my coffee. That may end up going as we continue to move down this path. But I guess the difference here, I'm going to just come back to this at the end. As I said, I'm going to write a blog post on this subject, so I'll get into a lot more detail. But in a sense, you know, we're like plants as I described before. But in a larger context, because of this gray matter, instead of just having to adapt to an environment or having to find an environment that meets our needs, we can actually create that environment. And if you're committed to growing throughout your life, at least socioculturally, you may stop growing physically. But if you're trying to continue to grow and contribute socioculturally throughout life, from adult onset to the time you leave this plane, then you can in fact change your environment. You can create a new environment, and you can do it radically and quickly. And so I'd encourage you to give that some thought. When I go back to kind of like intellectual noise in our environment, things like social media, the TV, internet in general, you know, all things virtual. Virtual reality is an oxymoron in my opinion. Go in there, right? Start eliminating the noise. The noise is the stuff that is not of use to who you want to be in this world. If it doesn't go to who you want to be in this world, eliminate it. We eliminated TV probably close to 10 years ago. How the hell I got anything done before we got rid of the TV is beyond me. On the physical side, I eliminated alcohol. How I got anything done while I was drinking is beyond me. Which goes to another concept I'll talk about in the blog post called integrity, and it's not in the way you're thinking of it, like telling a lie. It's a different definition of integrity. But start eliminating some stuff, and on the dietary side, same thing, okay? Eliminate the noise, okay? What you're after, what's of use to you, is the nutrition. The hyperpalatability of common foods today is noise, okay? Your body was not, those things don't provide dense nutrition. They are not useful to you. So anyway, just want you to give that some thought. Again, if you want more of this sort of thing, like and follow Be Your Biology on Facebook. You can subscribe to the Primal Woods blog. I'll put all these in the post. But it's at primalwoods.com/blog. You can sign up if you want to drink out of a fire hose for 3 weeks. Sign up for the August PTX. You can find that in the shop at primalwoods.com. And again, I'll put links to all this below. So thank you for listening. Please take on creation, reformation, transformation of your personal environment, please take on your, in my view, obligation to continue to develop for the rest of your life. If we can be of any help, please let me know. Thanks for watching.